What is going on, everybody? Welcome to MLB Live Before Lock here on the Stochastic YouTube channel. I am your humbled host, Eric Lindquist. You can follow me on X at Eric Lindquist. We're going to break down the slates over on DraftKings, on FanDuel. Obviously, one of those things where we have two more games to consider on a day-in, day-out basis, and we got that today. So I'm going to be breaking down a little bit of what we got with Washington, Colorado, because that is a very important one to the FanDuel folks. So I'm going to get to all the ins and outs of that. We'll talk through the board, but we're going to begin with a little bit of a recap of yesterday. I have the main event warm-up up here. I played a lot of the rally cap, played a couple of the mini-max as well, but just want to point out, yesterday was an absurd baseball day. Our three chalkiest pitchers all got outperformed by Ethan Pecco, and you didn't want any four of them. I mean, it was basically you had Gage Jump, who is my guy. It's sad. I had 0% Gage Jump, needed to have Gage Jump on a day where it was massive leverage against the Twins. Probably something to be accounting for. Now, I'm not a perfect person. No doubt about that. I'm giving you the best I got every single day, and sometimes the best falls flat, and oh my God. Gavin Williams in 72% of my lineups. Jacob deGrom, only like 15%. I ended up a little bit below. And Matthew Liberatore right around 30%. It's 115% of my pitcher ownership that was just given off to the gods. But one of the beautiful things about MLB DFS is that there's always tomorrow. Now, in the NFL, you got to wait an entire week for this shit. And that is the worst. The worst is sitting around making a bad decision or, not looking and recapping what you did correctly, what you did poorly. And in terms of some of the bats, actual player ROI, you had some craziness there. But in terms of the Sims, felt good about the fact that I ended up on some Jackson Merrill, that I ended up on a little bit of Carlos Cortez, even in the 8-hole on the Athletics, him, Lawrence Butler. We'll talk about the Athletics here again today. No question about that. Tatis, he did absolutely nothing, needed a little bit of something from him. He didn't want to he had a double right out of the gate, but didn't run, didn't score on that. And a 3-hit, 10-inning game for San Diego. Way to go, guys. But yeah, sometimes, and it's been a while since a humbling slate like this, where I just was like, I love Gage Jump, and I didn't play a 3% Gage Jump, and he obviously simmed out phenomenal in the post-contest sim. This is probably one of the most underutilized tools that exists. Again, you go over to the rally cap, you can look at exactly what tournaments you played in, see exactly how you did in certain departments, and obviously wish I had found myself onto a little bit more Gage Jump. That was a definite mistake in the portfolio. Ridiculous outing from him. And yeah, looked even better in something like the rally cap where you were getting maximum leverage at 2.5% ownership coming his direction. Ended up, 3% there in that main event. But Paul Skeens, pretty serviceable. Michael King, we liked him, but didn't have enough of him in the end of the day, 18%. Wish I just jammed Gage Jump, but you know what? You don't play in the rearview mirror. You simply analyze. You try to do better today. Hey, let's talk about Elmer Rodriguez, shall we? That's going to be fun times, but it's really fun times here at Stochastic. Again, Ethan Pecco outperformed the three most popular pitchers and also finished negative. So shout out the worst pitching slate of the entire MLB season. Let's turn the page, shall we? And we can do so with promo code MLBLBL. 10% off. I'm not a perfect person. Any MLB or all access package. Tell you what, it is amazing utilizing the Sims on a day in, day out basis. Yesterday, not a good day for anybody, anything. Just throw the data out the window. And that's part of why we do these shows, is to talk about the leverage opportunities, talk about where we can find some low owned spots, see how we can tweak a couple of things in the Sims here or there to give our lineups the best possible chance at success. We are building a portfolio of lineups on a day in, day out basis. I am playing single entry today as well as some of the 20 max. Not playing 150 today. Still, tail between my legs-ish, but overall feeling pretty darn confident that on a day in, day out basis, as we finish out this MLB season, these are the tools you need to be checking out. This is your time. This is your dance. Live every moment. Leave nothing to chance. Working 9 to 5. Or in this case, we're working till after work because it's 6 p.m. on the East Coast, 3 p.m. on the West Coast. 10% off any MLB or all access package. Let's begin our boarding walk. Now, again, there's no crying over spilled milk. There's no crying in baseball. Tom Hanks taught us that. I don't know who taught us the spilled milk one. but I'm going to pull up the single lineup simulator. I want to do this right from the get-go because I think that this is a fascinating slate. We have a chalky Mackenzie Gore, Sean Burke festivity going on in White Sox land. That's going to be fun. We've got some other pieces that we really want to make way for. I know Ohtani wasn't good until he hit a triple, and then God forbid the Dodgers had him score. No outs, triple, wild times. But pitcher is gross. It's really gross. We've got some mid-range options, but everything's pretty volatile. I'm going to complete this lineup because this is one of those days where very clearly I am not going to play 50% of any pitcher because I want to stack against some of the popular ones, especially depending on the contest that we're going to be playing in, especially depending on the way that we want to build out our portfolio of lineups for 20 max, for 150 max. If you're playing that, I'll get to the nuances and the ins and outs of it. But Connor Prelip against the Athletics is 6,200, pulling 20% ownership. Sean Burke gets bypassed for Mackenzie Gore at the moment, $700. That goes to use. We're going to put that to good use. We get Brooks Lee up to the 2-hole. That's going to be fascinating. Luke Keeschel back in our lives. No Byron Buxton as he hurt that hip again. Pre-lip, hip. When I lip, you lip, pre-lip. I put my hand up on your hip. Can we just keep Byron Buxton on bubble wrap for the rest of the year? Because I just got a bad feeling about this. My Twins, man. We keep getting inching close to the 500 number and we fall behind. We inch closer to the 500, we fall back. Oh, my Lord. Just wild times. First time all year, I didn't cap a pitcher when Sim's giving me 70% plus. Won't make that mistake again. Well, honestly, Gavin Williams just pitched like shit. Gavin Williams has treated us pretty well in this program. I had that 2K lineup that ended up cashing and going very, very nice for us when I played 100% Gavin Williams. That was like a month ago now. Sometimes you have a pitcher who has a bad outing. 1 1/3 against the Angels, not in the range of outcomes for Gavin Williams. I mean, that was a that was like a 0.5 percentile outcome for Gavin Williams. It was horrendous. Jack Flash. Yeah, yo, what up, Jamie? Good to see you. Thoughts on Nat Stack for FanDuel? Definitely. I'm playing one lineup on FanDuel. It's a Nat Stack. Kind of similar to what we had 2 days ago. Wish I had just played more lineups on FanDuel two days ago. Like 50x'd my money on one lineup that we rolled out. Washington plus Minnesota with Sandy Alcantara. Need more of that. It's probably the only time. Yeah, I know. It's probably the only time he hasn't hit. 72% of him. Just punch me in the face. Got it in good pre-flop. Can't be results oriented. Yeah. I mean, I had a sub 1% Pecco. You tell me he outperforms the top 3 pitchers on the slate, I feel like a genius. And then I look at the box score. The box score doesn't have me feeling like a genius. It has me feeling poorer is what it has me feeling. Gauge jump. Need a gauge jump. But here we go, friends. We begin with pitcher. And this is a very clear slate to be spread out, in my opinion, at pitcher. There's nothing that I feel quote-unquote good about. In fact, I think the guy I feel best about in terms of his floor and ceiling combination is actually Sean Burke. The problem is that he's 9K. Doesn't matter on some slates. It matters on this one. Now, we remove PCA. We remove all of those early games. We remove some of those pieces. But we still have Ohtani. We still have some positions that we want to be spending up at. Some guys in some specific spots that we really want to take advantage of where their current ownership is. And I'm actually going to get off of this. I'm going to add on to this. We're going to get ourselves a couple of looks here. And obviously there's the turbo there. But for this 7-gamer, 9-gamer for FanDuel, folks, we've got an Ohtani here. We got stack viability up against Roki. Roki, a viable pitcher for sure. This is where all of our pitcher ownership comes from. And we have confirmed lineups up and down the board. So we're playing this straight up. Last game locking at 9:05 p.m. Eastern time. So going to be an early night for everybody. Hopefully books can get lines up for me nice and early for Lindy's Leans, Likes, and Locks. If you guys want to recap of that, it is in article form over on OddsShopper. You can obviously check it out, the video on the OddsShopper YouTube channel every single night, Sunday through Thursday. So that's Monday through Friday slates. But I look at this game, Minnesota Athletics. We have a 5.7 implied run total on the Minnesota side. So shocker, yet again, that's the team to be looking at the most, but we've got so many viable spots to get leverage off of pitchers who are pulling ownership. Peter Lambert coming off of getting shelled, which we identified pretty nicely with that was last Thursday with the Angels stack. That was a fun day. I want more days like Thursday, fewer days like yesterday. That sounds good. Last Thursday, that was the nuts. Tomorrow is an epic 5-game slate. Just looking ahead, talking about that. But in terms of the expensive guys, I really do think Sean Burke is the guy that I feel the most confident about. I'm still going to play right around 35% of him no matter what in 20 max stuff. I'm looking at Sean Burke as one of those guys who at 9K, I can bypass a little bit to get to a tad bit more Mackenzie Gore. I can get to a tad bit more of some of these mid-range guys if I really, really want to. But I think that this is going to be a one of Burke, Gore, and then sometimes Roki, who we're sitting around the field on. I'm going to be right around 20% on the Roki side. And then we punt. We are going to rotate through 2 specific idiots, maybe a little bit of a third in AJ Smith-Shawver. His innings number should be working up. His pitch count should be working up. I don't think he's that good, and he's taking on the Dodgers. But I know how many people are going to have Ohtani in my lineups, and I know how much Ohtani I'm going to have in my lineup. So I feel like some combination of Burke Gore, probably not going to be playing a lot of Burke and Gore together. That's a game environment. Obviously, you're cannibalizing the win. That doesn't really matter to me as much as just finding raw strikeouts on DraftKings. And on FanDuel, well, those are your 2 pitchers that we're actually going to talk about right now, because I think there's one massive leverage point that exists, and that's that Sean Burke is cheaper on FanDuel. He's 9,100. I love Sean Burke relative to the Sonny Gray and Mackenzie Gore ownership. Now, we don't have Sonny Gray on the DraftKings side, and he is the chalkiest pitcher against the Marlins. You do have Kyle Stowers back in that lineup. So, for all intents and purposes, Griffin Conine up to the 2-hole, Marcy, Owen Casey. We get a number of these lefties, but Sonny Gray been doing a pretty good job in limiting some of the power, and this is obviously a great ballpark to be walking into relative to a wind out at Fenway situation, like it's been all summer for the most part. We've had a couple of wind-in games, but for the most part, been good hitting conditions in the summer before it flips around on our ass at the end of September, beginning October. We'll see how far this little choo-choo train wants to go when it's all said and done on that side of it. But Sonny Gray, it's been magnificent against lefties. These are really, really good numbers for a right-handed pitcher, especially one who doesn't offer a changeup all that much. 105 pitches out of his 1,300 plus to the left side. Yeah, it's been decent, but he gets no swing and miss with it. He really sets up curveball, and then whoop, curveball, whoop. I think Miami's an interesting stack with some of those lefties and some of those righties, but he's done a pretty good job of limiting the power. There's enough strikeouts there with a Kyle Stowers leading off. Again, that was the main thing that was annoying, is you get some of these other individuals like a Marcy. It's a huge difference. But you're trying to steal games, and you steal games by hitting solo shots and finding some activities. And Kyle Stowers, I totally get in modern baseball, the Kyle Schwarbers and Kyle Stowers leading off in these specific spots. Totally get it. But I got to tell you, Sonny Gray is good enough at limiting lefties, but these are not necessarily the best K rates. And it is improved with Stowers atop this lineup. I understand the ownership. I understand also in terms of pitching outs, which is something we highlight all the time over on FanDuel, that makes the most sense. But look at Burke. 17.5 minus 135. 6.5K prop plus money to the over. Sonny Gray. They're both pretty darn good favorites to go 18 outs and be done. So we're getting a major half of the ownership coming in on the Sean Burke side at $1,000 less. Ohtani is still at a price 4K that is just ridiculous for the FanDuel side. Yordan Alvarez, serviceable. Not a lot of expensive bats to be paying up for. We do have Abrams at shortstop second, 3,700. We do have a Bobby Witt Jr. 3,800, I suppose, if you want to combine that and make it work. But no other bats outside of Yordan Alvarez and Shohei Ohtani on this slate. That said, Minnesota continues to be ridiculously cheap. 15% top stack ownership over on this side of it. And I feel as though if you're going to go that direction, and I feel as though if you're going to go the Yordan and Ohtani direction, I like getting a little bit of the ownership trimmed off at pitcher. You don't have to force it. And I think Sonny Gray's fine, but he's 33% owned. I'm not going to beat the drum for a lot of the cheaper guys over here. Elmer Rodriguez, we're going to talk about a long time over on DraftKings. Want to go into the ins and outs of FanDuel because I know that's locking in 23 minutes. This is kind of typically what we've been doing on these shows. But one guy outside of these main three who, again, I think if you're playing FanDuel on a one-pitcher site, it's a very good reason over 75% of the ownership is coming in towards these guys. But you only have 25% other pitchers that are going to get rostered. There's one that just seems interesting purely because it completely flips what everybody else is doing on this specific slate. And I think JT Ginn is that guy. 8,700. And JT Ginn, I think it's a little surprising to see how good he's been at limiting power. And Byron Buxton is not in this lineup. Obviously, that's some fewer strikeouts, but these are bright green numbers with a 23.5% K rate to righties. Bright green numbers with a 19.8% K rate to lefties. With no Buxton in that lineup and Lee moved up, who definitely doesn't strike out, there's still enough here in the middle portion of this Twins lineup where even if he doesn't have enough strikeout stuff, it's a much weaker, watered-down lineup as a result of no Buxton. And Buxton has been awful since he got off the IL for what it's worth. I think he had one game of double-digit fantasy points as is. But JT Ginn, because of how chalky Minnesota is, they are the top stack. I think JT Ginn is interesting far more on the FanDuel side than he is on the DraftKings side. In fact, if you look here on DraftKings, 1% ownership coming here. But you're getting massive leverage for the FanDuel side at where those Twins prices are. I'm not going to say that I would play a ton of him. I'm playing one lineup. I'm playing Sean Burke. But if I were playing more, that's the one guy that I think I would take a good hard look at and potentially get myself to double-digit percent of. Maybe not more than 10%. But 8,700, it's going to keep that ownership down. He has nowhere near the same strikeout stuff or just raw fantasy point projection of these main guys. But if he succeeds, the Twins are going to fail more than likely. And that becomes a very interesting proposition on the FanDuel side of things. Don't really want to be dealing with anything else really in that mid-range to the lower tier on the FanDuel side. But for DraftKings, you best believe we're going to go down into the doldrums where nobody goes. Whoo-hoo-hoo! Connor Prelip, double the field right out the get-go. Now, Connor Prelip, kind of an interesting breakdown of a pitcher. Obviously, I'm a Twins fan, so I hope he ends up good. I hope we find a way to kind of develop this. But Connor Prelip's a slider-heavy dependent pitcher. And he is frustrating at times because you see what the potential can be. Obviously, you see what the downside can be. It can be very, very bad. But this is an A's lineup that, I mean, it's missing some pieces. We'll put it that way. If you can limit the power, 24.8% K rate here for Connor Prelip. There is a fantasy winning potential, kind of like what I had with Zebby Matthews a couple nights ago. Zebby Matthews won us that slate. Zebby Matthews was electric in tournaments. I mean, top 10 in basically every 20 max, mini max, everything across the board for me. And it was highlighted by whatever Cal Raleigh lineup showed up in my life that day. Because again, shout out the Sims for that. I didn't do that. Zebby Matthews was definitely Sims du jour, and we jammed that. That was nice. And I look at Joey Cantillo and Connor Prelip. There's not a lot different in terms of what that strikeout stuff is going to be going forward for each of them. The main thing that makes Cantillo effective until he takes on the Angels today, which, you know, I saw that was not exactly going well. 3-2 bottom 8. Okay. Can I get a miracle Cleveland ninth inning? That'd be cool. That'd be cool. Not sure how many people played the early slate. I sure did. 1 strikeout in 6 innings. What are we doing, Cantillo? What are we actually doing with our lives? Against the Angels? Against the Angels. Good Lord. But Dustin May, not a ton of interest going his direction. The walks are starting to creep back up. There are other slates I think that he would have some more utility, but when you've got the top tier of Burke and Gore, like coming off of yesterday, I'm not going to say anything is a guarantee because it's surely not. They are projected far, far better. Nearly 3 fantasy points difference between Gore and Burke. And 7,300 is fine, but I get 6,200 for Connor Prelip. I get 6K for AJ Smith-Shawver, who I think is kind of interesting to give a tiny little boosty boost to. I don't want to go crazy with it by any means, but if you noticed, we got Alec Thomas added into this lineup in the whole 8-hole yesterday, up to 7 today. Kyle Tucker, not a huge strikeout guy, and obviously these numbers are not as bad as what Dodgers fans would want you to believe. He's been a little unlucky this season. He's still generating walks. He still is an idiot out in the field at times and drops fly balls, but so is PCA at times this year, and he's a generational center fielder. So we got to pump the brakes a little bit there. But you get Muncy, you get Ohtani. Those are definite strikeouts available at the top of this lineup. And AJ Smith-Shawver got a late start to his season. And for what it's worth, we talked about Prelip enough. I think, something in the 30-ish% realm, 35-ish% realm. I'm actually very comfortable with it with that A's lineup that rolled out. Heim up in the 4-hole. You got, some absolute gooberness going on there. But I look at 2 starts, pretty limited pitch workload here, 75 pitches. Can we get up to 85 for today? He is 6K. And there's a risk of ruin with Prelip. There's an obvious risk of ruin about the guy we're going to talk about in a second. But I think where his price point is at 6K, getting over the field to him, getting to around 10% of him, I think that's appropriate. I have 35% for what it's worth of Connor Prelip. And then the main conversation piece of the entire day is that of Elmer Rodriguez. Elmer Rodriguez has been flat out good at AAA. Now, some guys, whether that's like a Brian Bayo when he was the it child of AAA and then the strikeout stuff, even to this day, other than in a relief role for the Red Sox, has not really shown up where it is. But I look at this and AAA for Elmer Rodriguez, and I was curious where the field was going to come in on him because there is an obvious risk of ruin, and it exists by way of walks. At the big league level, it's been worse. 13 and change, Zips, Steamer, the Bat, everybody sitting around the 10% number. It's a big walk rate. There are days you're going to get torched where you walk a couple, you give up a bomb, and your life is, in essence over. But he is so good at limiting power. He is so good at limiting power, and you have to have that facet as a young pitcher coming into Yankee Stadium. 3.72 FIP at AAA. It has not been good at the big league level at all. But it was somebody that Yankees fans, I can remember being very excited for that first start, and then he started walking everyone. And that didn't stop. And that's really what's kept him here. The question is, can we find strikeout stuff with Elmer Rodriguez? The Sims are saying we are buying Elmer Rodriguez, and I'm completely with it, if only because we're allowed to stack against Elmer Rodriguez as well. This is very, very similar to yesterday's situation for me. Very interesting that it's on the other team because, we went the Pecco side a little bit yesterday. I look at Elmer Rodriguez as one of those guys that I surely want to play because this strikeout stuff can't be worse than what it's been. And if you look at this individual lineup, you get the Trammels of the world who strike out more. You get Christian Walker. Thank God he's in this lineup. I was a little bit worried that we would get like a Nick Allen situation. Lamont Wade, somebody that against righties has been leading off at times, although when Pena is healthy, you're not going to do that. But here's what I'm kind of encouraged about for Elmer Rodriguez. This is a Houston team that outside of Alvarez does not walk a lot. You get a couple of walks from Isaac Paredes at 10%. This is overall a below average walking baseball team. Not by much, But when your leadoff hitter is sitting sub 6% walk rate, because, he's able to get bat on ball, he doesn't strike out a ton either. Yordan Alvarez, generational player. Not gonna say anything negative about Yordan Alvarez here. But I am gonna say Dalton Varsho, terrible year. Altuve, terrible year. Isaac Paredes, terrible year for expectations. Trammell, tons of strikeouts. Cam Smith, 8-hole. He's had an up and down ride. He smacks the baseball at times, and he absolutely looks like a doofus other times. This is a both sideser to the max for me. Elmer Rodriguez, I like it. I don't love it because I know what the risk of ruin is. You get those walks popping up, Houston can be your winning stack of the evening. But that's why this is so beautiful. We get the opportunity to do things like, I don't know, what I prefer. I'm actually going to go the Burt. Well, no, we're going to go the Gore route. It's going to sim out a tiny bit better. And again, I have no problem with either one of these two. It is such a small projection difference. I do think he's got the little bit higher floor than that of Sean Burke. Kind of grasping at straws with that. But with Elmer Rodriguez, we get to Ohtani, we get to Bobby Witt, we get to, an Ivan Herrera. Oh, Hector Rodriguez did go yard. He was leading off and sitting like 170. So, of course, he was going to hit a home run today. 2 home runs. That's a double dong. Good times. But these look like fun lineups. Leaning all the way into the 6,300, 6,500s that you have to pay up for to get to Witt and Ohtani. That's what Elmer Rodriguez does on this specific slate for you. I just said he went twice today. So yeah, I like this path for tournaments today. Give me around 40% Elmer and give me, for damn sure, 10+% Houston. There's no way that I'm going to roster that much Elmer Rodriguez and not have it locked in the chamber for the eventuality that he walks everyone. That is very, very live to happen. I'm sure Boone is just sitting there waiting to yank him out of that game if he walks too. Just waiting on it. Can't wait for that. I actually do want to double check this. Did the Yankees play tomorrow on that 7-game slate? I feel like they did. Yep. I was going to say they play one more game in this series. Same thing with KC Toronto, same thing with Baltimore St. Louis, same thing with Colorado Washington. We're running this every single series plays one more game, and then you have in the nightcap, the new series starting up. Arizona San Francisco has a 4-game set over the weekend. All right. So we covered pitcher pretty in depth. We got 11 minutes to be able to get some lineups in on the FanDuel side of things. We're going to do that right in a second. Yankees defense looked terrible yesterday. Sure did. I mean, Volpe looks a lot better when Lombard is, punting it into the ground. 3-4 errors now in the last couple? I feel like every time I turn on a Yankees game, they're like, oh, Lombard, he's young. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, the last update an hour ago, because we got all the lineups already. We have every lineup in. That's the beauty of today. There's no update that needs to be made when we have every lineup. Every lineup's been in for like 40 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that. So, yeah. There's nothing to update. What do you want us to update? It was 50 minutes ago for what it's worth. But anyway. That's neither here nor there. What is here is you guys hitting that like button so I can keep doing the show, even on Wednesdays. Yeah, sure. 9-game slate, 7-game slate. Tomorrow is a fantastic 5-gamer. Every game starts in that same window. For DraftKings FanDuel, there's only 2 standalone games in the morning. Super quick slate. Probably won't even play that myself. But a 5-game slate on a Thursday, you best believe before NFL starts, I'm going to thank the baseball gods above that we've got a little extra action to get ourselves involved with the Sims. Speaking of, promo code MLBLBL. 10% off any MLB or all access package. You can have a sip of water. $10 off any MLB or all access package. Down at the video description box below. I don't know if you've noticed this. You're locking in a lot of time right now by signing up for the monthly. You're getting a couple weeks now of NFL. Starting up that Wednesday. Oh, it's a beautiful time to take advantage of the Sims for the monthly. Holy shit. 10% off. all the sports. We got the Tour Championship this weekend. We're going to have some NASCAR in our lives. Got some UFC cards. Oh, I'm going to be firing up a lot of DFS. If you want to be joining me, MLB LBL gets you 10% off that all-access package. But also MLB, it's a freaking weekend, baby. We're going to have great slates starting Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's how schedules work. So let's do that. All righty, y'all. To the stack department, starting over on FanDuel. Talked about why JT Ginn is more of an interesting play for FanDuel. Don't really have any interest on DraftKings, where you need to find strikeouts. You can't get by with upside of getting a win, of getting a quality start. Those are not things that exist over on the FanDuel side. So how can we differentiate our lineups when we have one team with a 6 total and understanding that, yes, it's baseball? Here is where my DraftKings lineups ended up. And it's a little bit different. But one team in particular, the Minnesota Twins, pulling ownership on both sides. I'm going to be playing them on both sides, but the Athletics are very, very interesting for both sides. Now, Prelip is going to pull some ownership on DraftKings, so kind of giving you the leverage there. On the FanDuel side, nobody's rostering, Connor Prelip or JT Ginn, really. So both are very, very viable. But how about the frickin' White Sox, man? The reason I don't want to be playing over 50% of any of these pitchers, I think this is the ideal slate. The ideal slate on FanDuel to be firing up some Chicago White Sox. I think the Chicago White Sox might be my favorite stack of the day. I'm going to play them in single entry. I said I prefer the Sean Burke side ever so slightly. Part of that is me being biased, knowing Mackenzie Gore is going to be your most popular pitcher on DraftKings. And on FanDuel, I don't have a lot of interest in stacking up against Sonny Gray. Brought up his power numbers. He's in a great pitching ballpark. And while Owen Casey, Jacob Marcy, Alberto Hernandez, I think, was in that lineup as well. But there are some interesting bats. Obviously, atop of it, Kyle Stowers, Griffin Conine in the 2-hole. We can still have a little bit of fun before we die. But I think the White Sox are criminally underowned against Mackenzie Gore. Mackenzie Gore is good. No question about that. He's somebody we're playing in a boatload of lineups for what it's worth. So, Eric, why? Well, because price and probability on the betting side, or in this case, price, probabilities, stacks, salary, everything is wrapped into one. And I think the White Sox, while they are way down in the doldrums here, 4.2% top stack percentage, there's nobody outside of Minnesota that is that probable of a stack relative to the next stack. 7.2% ownership 7.2% top stack percentage on the Milwaukee side. Not that you're getting any leverage going up against Robert Stock. Down to 2.2%. Everybody gets a chance here. So if I'm trying to maximize my lineups on FanDuel or DraftKings and really go for gold and try to win this slate, attacking a quarter of the field with Mackenzie Gore, pulling this kind of ownership for the White Sox. In fact, I think one of the most viable things to do, one of the most interesting things, if you're going to play a chalky Minnesota team, make the White Sox your secondary. Play 3 or 2 White Sox. We kind of know who we want to roster on the White Sox side. Now, Chase Mydroth, not your typical cleanup hitter. They ended up flipping this around and going Vargas to leading off. Vargas is an irrefutably good play today. You get this kind of leverage against a Mackenzie Gore with a leadoff Miguel Vargas, sweet times. But everybody outside of Tristan Peters and Murakami right-handed, or in this case, switch hitter. It is a beautiful time to be rostering them to get this kind of leverage, and they are 2% owned. The White Sox stack is 2% owned over on the FanDuel side. I don't know what to say other than when you have 4.2% top stack percentage, ownership share 3.4 there, but over on the DraftKings side, they're even lower owned, 2%. 5 stack pool ownership here as I pooled my lineups together. They're our 4th highest owned stack running the Sims unencumbered. I think it is the most interesting leverage spot that we've got on the board. Now, Baltimore just got done ripping the absolute cover off of Matthew Liberatore's soul. Your soul is mine. On FanDuel, it's a little different because we have Washington. On DraftKings, I will be rostering some Baltimore. I feel like that was definitely a leak yesterday for me, and I'd say for the Sims. Not getting onto more Baltimore than I think I had 2%, had 2 lineups with them. It's not ideal. Not ideal. And Suarez grand slam. Good times. But I look at the Nationals today. I'm worried that they're going to end up really popular. Tanner Gordon's not good. I think we can all kind of assess Tanner Gordon. And Abimelec Ortiz is definitely going to get pinch hit for at times. And you can kind of tell when those times are going to be. We can kind of reverse engineer it. Not that he can't go nutties here early. Helps to have Chaparro there, but there's one name that is very obviously not on this lineup card. Very, very obvious Brady House omission. With no Brady House, that is the guy that will be pinch hitting for Abimelec Ortiz at some point in this game. Now, there's only 2 lefties, I think, right now in the current Colorado pen. We have Bernardino and another piece. I'm trying to remember his name off the top of my head, but that's locking in 3 minutes here. I want to behoove you. If you're building out one lineup right now, if you're building out, even a handful of lineups, 20, Abimelec Ortiz is probably going to be the most over-owned hitter on the slate, in my estimation. Just based on how they've handled him. There's times where he goes nutties early and then they give him those at-bats too. Again, what was Washington playing for? It's a phenomenal ballpark for power. Rolling sample size here. It's tied with Suter Health Park. I mean, my God, have home runs been abound in Nationals Park. But I'm a little bit nervous. Jump over to the FanDuel side. I'll give you the FanDuel Optimal, because I'm a giving lover like that. Kenzie Gore is showing up in that Optimal for what it's worth. CJ Abrams, definitely a phenomenal play. It's hard to make your money work over on the FanDuel side. I was building out a lot of lineups before this show. 800 on the table, 1,000 on the table. No problem with that. No problem. But embracing like an Ohtani, Bolte's still 2,800 for God knows what reason. These Twins have just been laughably low. $3K for Keishel and Bell. Ooh, we got a $100 price increase for Bell. That'll really scare him away. You kidding me? You absolutely effing kidding me? Oh, you kidding me, baby? No, I'm not kidding you. Not kidding you at all. But Abimelec Ortiz, that's kind of the main thing. I built up the Nationals without him. 4-man Nationals, no Abimelec Ortiz. I think he's going to be higher owned than this. Go Chaparro. I am a firm Andres Chaparro fan today on FanDuel. So that should be a fun one to sweat out. All right. Back to the DraftKings side, because again, 7 games. This is going to be very, very easy for us to be able to talk through. Toronto, copy-paste everything from yesterday. Did it work out all that well? No. Didn't kill you. Having Bateman and Lukes, they were fine. They were fine. A lot of my top lineups were that. I mean, my top lineup was that with Baltimore, but I only had 2 Baltimore lineups, and, well, I had Gavin Williams in them. Good times. Good times. But the Houston side, this is definitely the one that I said there was one team to be boosting for both sites, really, but specifically on the DraftKings side where Elmer Rodriguez is going to pull ownership, and he's going to pull ownership for me. Nobody's going to play Elmer Rodriguez over on FanDuel, nor should they. So Houston, far less viable to me over there. I like them a lot as a team to get to around 10% of. In fact, I've rated around 15% Toronto. It's almost directly going that direction. And one other team, I think Milwaukee, we're already getting 7% of them. That's fine. I like them a little bit more than that against Robert Stock. In New York, we got the New York, the stock exchange. Stocks are up, stocks are down. S&P 500, how's it doing any given day? I don't know. But the stock is definitely going to be coming down in an earlier round for Robert Stock in this department. This is unsustainable. It's just flat out is an unsustainable hard hit rate. He is going to be much worse than that going forward. This is a 36-year-old who's never had a season where he's given up less than a 40% hard hit percentage, where he was out of baseball entirely. Came out for what, one start last year? One start last year. But he has a 10.4% barrel percentage with just a 27% hard hit. This is called regression towards the mean. I like Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee makes a lot of sense. I think Milwaukee is definitely a stack that's just fine for today's slate. I like them in around 10% of lineups. So Toronto, while they are my second highest owned stack next to Minnesota, just no Buxton. It becomes a cheaper stack to put together. Not that they have been performing all that well. They performed well on Monday for us. That was useful. Yesterday, little recency bias. Trevor Larnach's been horrendous. Might only get 2 at-bats. I mean, this guy was the one leading off once upon a time here. We'll see. They got enough lefties in that pen that it can create some issues, but it is 98 degrees. And the wind's actually out. I don't know why the wind. Tell you what, Labs, you're not even trying. You're not even trying anymore. What are you actually doing? What are you actually doing? This is why I aggregate weather for what it's worth. Don't even use theirs because they really don't pay fucking attention, but it's just a clean way to look at lineups. Anyway, Trevor Larnach, a little terrified about his pinch hit risk, so something to monitor in your lineups for sure. Not exactly the cheapest dude either at 4K, batting 7th. I hate Alan Rodin so much. Alan Rodin is terrible. Alan Rodin needs to go away. But look at this A's lineup, man. Michael Stefanik. You can't spell your name Stefanik and be good. I mean, the Angels know that. Former Angel, Michael Stefanik. Former a lot of teams for what it's worth, but this is going to be an interesting one. Kuminga to the Wolves? While I'm on this show, are you kidding me? No way. Kuminga to the Wolves while I'm on the show? Oh, let's fucking go. I don't dance now. I make money moves. Now, we obviously were lacking. Jaden McDaniels is tall. He's a tall individual. I think he's like sneaky tall to some people. He's more like 6'10". I've stood next to him. A little lean bean, string bean, but like we are looking for something at power forward. We have no Naz Reid. We have no Julius Randle. These are things that had to, like, we had to go get a power forward at some point. DiVincenzo is going to be a ways away. Long time. Maybe we get like a Jason Tatum March return or something, but like in the meantime, there was nothing off that bench. It was going to be Ball, Dosunmu, Edwards, McDaniels, Gobert. Kuminga at the 4 off the bench sounds really fun to me. Dude, we had Bones Highland and Josh Green as our potential guys off the bench. I mean, Terrence Shannon can be a spark plug. We saw that in the playoffs, but like, I just, is he even listed on this team still? Is he even here? This is not bad. 2 years, 13 mil. First off, I'm surprised. And I think Golden State is probably very happy things worked out the way that it did. So I'm not going to call him great. He's not great by any means. But we needed something. And there is a ceiling that exists in the 1-1 EPA department. He played some good basketball here. Then Draymond Green happened. And then the Hawks happened. He was an above average player for the Hawks. Not by crazy amounts, but I mean, this was a progression of a player that got a little ostracized by the guys around him in a Golden State uniform and found some form. You're going to hate Kuminga by December? Probably. Everything I'm saying is probably true, but in terms of estimated plus minus, my major thing for him is, can we develop this? If we can get threes to be around 36, 37%, which is a big if, he's going to be playing off ball a lot on the floor with Ball and Edwards, but like having Ball creating. Kuminga chose the Wolves over the Lakers, Bulls, Blazers. Well, I can see why with those other fucking teams. Are you kidding me? You fit terribly with them. Shams said he'll start. Interesting. So we'll have him start and Ayo off the bench. And that's fine by me. Again, Jonathan Kuminga, you can call him he's basically a 3/4. You have him and McDaniels at the 4. Defensively, he's a lot better than people think he is. He is a lot better defensively. The question is, can he knock down shots? Because he will not be playing on Ball. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. This is going to be fun. This is going to be a fun one. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. It's fun to talk a little NBA. I know we're talking baseball all the time. But we got, 12 minutes? It's a 7-game slate for DraftKings. I think we're going to be just fine getting these in under the buzzer. We talked about Toronto. It's just really where their prices are. Same kind of consideration. Same thing as when you were facing a Seth Lugo yesterday. This time around, Randy Dubnyk is very tilting. All he does is get ground balls and limit power. But we got a bunch of slapdick McSlappersons anyway. The Batemans, the Guerreros, a slapdick McSlapperson at this point in time. I mean, there are some slack dick happy bitches in Toronto that make a lot of lineups work. Copy paste everything I said about the White Sox for FanDuel. Really like them. Yankees. Just fine against Lambert. You think I'm not going to stack a couple of lineups, 10% of lineups against Lambert coming off of last week's festivities against him? Surely I am not. Surely not scared of that. But Minnesota won. Athletics, kind of a co-ownership with Toronto, right in that 12 to 15% range for me. White Sox, I like a lot. I'm playing them in single entry with no Mackenzie Gore, and then I'm playing a decent bit of Mackenzie Gore there elsewhere, which I think you should too. Milwaukee, closer to the 10% number. Baltimore, just fine with them. And the Dodgers, we're going to get to pieces of the Dodgers. I bet you can guess who they are. But we are not playing the Dodgers as a 5-man. I've been pretty vehemently against the Dodgers as a 5-man the whole year. They're just really expensive to put together. And I don't know. Other than Coors Field, when we rostered them every time, because obviously, can't really remember the last time I was overweight to the Dodgers on a specific stack in the Sims. It's too much else that you can do with your lineups going elsewhere. Pinch hit risk for an Alek Thomas. Lee did pitch yesterday, for what it's worth, if you were watching that game. Always paying attention to the righties, the lefties, paying attention. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe sheep. $5 super chat. JT Mac 31, shout out my guy. Yesterday, nothing worked out in the pitching department. I apologize. 2 pitchers and a 5-man to win you the 888. Well, obviously the White Sox are where I'm going in single entry. If you feel like you want to embrace that fat, plump chicken with me, sounds great. Elmer Rodriguez is a viable contrarian piece. Burt Gore, I don't love the combination of having 35-40% owned pitchers there. I like the idea of leverage because, in the 888, I assume they're both going to be 40+% owned. So if you want to go the chalkier Minnesota route, I think Elmer Rodriguez kind of a must. Connor Prelip, I suppose, could come along for the ride there too. But looking at my lineup right now, my single entry lineup, I like the White Sox a lot. I don't mind Milwaukee. We talked through the ins and outs of that. And if you think Elmer's going to pull more ownership in that contest, I don't think he's going to. Houston becomes more interesting. I won't be a coward. I'll say White Sox to win the damn tournament. Give me the White Sox. And Murakami is 5,700 on DraftKings. Chase Mydrith, not your typical guy there. 5,300 for Vargas. Grichuk, we know the pinch hit risk. Doyle, we know the pinch hit risk. But Tristan Peters isn't going anywhere. Tristan Peters on a heater. You never walk away from the table when you're on a heater. Just throwing it out there. So yeah, we got some interesting ways to build that out. 2 pitchers and 5-man. Yeah, so we covered that. Garrett Mitchell plus 700. Did he go yard? Did Mitchell go yard yesterday? I didn't see that. Normally I'm a Mitchell guy. So DK Optimal single entry. Thanks, brother. Hit the like, guys. What a great idea. I'll leave that up on screen while I do that for you. I'll do this. We'll go batter by batter and we'll get the heck up out of here. Can probably roll out of here right before the top of the hour. There's not a lot else to cover. 7-game slate. Tomorrow, 5-gamer. I'm going to be with you for 45 minutes. We are going to hammer that slate out together. I'm very excited to have a 5-gamer. Let me clear this. Let me refresh this. Make sure. I don't think we had an update because, again, there was nothing to update. This isn't like NBA where we can be tweaking projections and starting lineups to roll out even after the fact for somebody being in or yada, yada, yada. I don't even know what yada, yada, yada means. It just means like just more shit. I don't know. Here we go. Here is your DK goodness. Bobby Witt, love for tournaments. Love, love, love. Now, Miles is good. Simeon Woods Richardson, that's going to be the guy eating up most of the innings. Good situation to be a Kansas City hitter. However, they have to face Miles right out the gate. That isn't fun. That is not very fun. I guess Chad Dallas now getting the start. What a time to be alive, guys. What a time to be alive. Chad frickin' Dallas. But there you are with that. And let's go position by position. And then we'll load up the home run plays. We'll get the heck up out of here. Alejandro Kirk, Ryan Jeffers, co-owning the top spot here. My priority, my favorite play at catcher is Jonah Heim, but I have a lot of pre-lip too. This is a definite kind of this all day. Oh, don't sleep on Basallo either. Absolutely love Samuel Basallo. Bet him, like him a lot. Really good hitting weather. It's just a terrible ballpark. But McGreevy confirmed shit to lefties. Not that Holiday has a ton of power here, but you know who does? Basallo. Holy mother of God. And look at everything. Look at all these. Look at this. Against the pitch mix. Look at this. Absolutely destroys all this shit that Michael McGreevy throws at the wall. And he does try to throw this shit at the wall. A changeup, that has definitely been an interesting one for Basallo because still very ground ball heavy, but he is hitting it hard, man. Antonacci, he's not in the game. Hey, he's lefty. He's having pasta with his grandpa. Antonacci, hey. First base, we got ourselves a Vlad Guerrero Jr. because what could possibly go wrong? Josh Bell hanging out as well. Do like the Okamoto piece. I think that is a pretty darn sharp ad by the Sims here. Not a great projection, but I think we know what happens when he hits his ceiling. It goes high and far. Cody Clemens running away with second at the moment, but it's pretty flat. Terang, Clement, Jackson, Jazz. You guys like Jazz? Zach Geloff, my lawn. Brooks Lee. I don't have any bet for that. Okamoto, again, hanging out there, but I love Miguel Vargas. Miguel Vargas, my favorite tournament. I have 20% Miguel Vargas. My favorite guy. If you don't have Mackenzie Gore in the lineup, you best believe, for me, Miguel Vargas is somebody you should very, very seriously be contemplating at the third base position. Plus, Geloff, the reason he's in 26% of lineups as is outfield eligibility. At shortstop, Bobby Witt Jr., Gunnar Henderson, What could possibly go wrong? Corey Seager, Jeremy Pena hanging out, living his life because he got to know. Stacking up against Elmer. And in the outfield, Ohtani, Gil off my lawn, George Springer, Henry Bolte, Luke Keeschel. Some very obvious names. In terms of negative leverage, I think this one's interesting. Ronald Acuna and Christian Yelich and Wyatt Langford, we're below the field on all of these dudes. All these dudes. Taylor Trammell, got a little bit of him. Not a lot, baby girl, just a little bit. We'll head to the crib in a little bit, and I'll show you how I live in a little bit. All right, y'all, you know what to do. Home run plays into the chat right now. You also, I think you were aware, promo code MLB LBL. These are all good things. Take advantage. Down at the video description box below. Get yourself the Sims right meow. I don't know how to say it like that. What an idiot. Alrighty, y'all. It's Dong of the Day. Or in this case, Gong of the Day. We got Vlad coming in for Melikar. We got Ozzy Albies coming in for my guy Walton Horton, 5192. Good to see you here. Don't be mad when Servin goes off. He's going to be serving it up. Freddie, remember me, Freeman? Is it, though? I mean, his agents are the main reasons that he is not there. That is for sure. That's what I've heard. That's a lot of May and Prelip I've got there. Best of luck to you on the May department. That's all you, broski. Yep, but Randall Grichuk for starting 9. He's quite divine. Paul Wall, who the hell is that? Fitness 2 go 30-20. Paul to the wall? I don't know. Clemens plus Vargas. That's a nice double dong. That would make me 6 to midnight real quick. Razor Ramon 24. Murakami Mommy. Oh. Cowser coming that direction. We got ourselves Cowser. What did Clintwood have? Matt Olson for my guy Clintwood, 83. Absolutely love it. I bet his home run. I think he looks pretty saucy there. Weird. That's the least we've talked about Roki Sasaki on a Roki Sasaki slate in forever. Forever. But yes, Disco Stupendous for Royce Lewis there. Cowser, I think I already said that one for Jake DeWay. We got Keeschel, Bell, Gil off my lawn for Ryan Renabaum. You should single game parlay those together if you think that. Keeschel, Obi-Wan. We got ourselves Bolte for Reese Candelora, 5971. Tristan Peters, extra sniper. Tristan Peters, Sir Dodger. He is my favorite tournament play, not named Miguel Vargas on the White Sox for what it's worth. How many socks for DK single entry, bro? I'm playing 5 of them, so there is that. Sir Dodger, Jinx, you owe me a soda. I love soda. It's delicious. Good luck, everyone. $2 super chat from Jack Flash 8509. Sorry for being a butt, Lindy. You're not a butt. I got a butt right there for you. Also getting very, very hot in here, so let's take off all your clothes. I am getting so hot. The goose for Luis Robert here coming. Coco, Chris Malakar. What the fuck are we talking about? Paul Wall, Mike Jones, sorry. Back then, hoes did not want me. Now I am hot. Hoes are all on me. Ryan Renabaum, good luck. All that's very nice. Remember, appreciate the breakdown. Zippy, you're welcome. Obi-Wan, Young Jock Peterson, Young Obi Trice, Bubba Sparks, booty, rocking everywhere. And Grichuk rounding it all out for Mike Sorick. Good stuff, my friends. Until next time, I am your host, Eric Lindquist. We'll be back tomorrow for a lovely 5-gamer. Can't wait to break that down. All the goodness down below. We've got Odd Shopper. We got Stochastic. We got expert articles up on the page for you. We've got so much good stuff coming in the prediction market streets as well. Oh, baby. It's good times to be here. So kick it with me tomorrow. Until then, I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck in the MLB streets on Wednesday. God forbid it looks like Tuesday. Bye.